Hey, good morning, and welcome to another podcast of a Stronger Futures project. Now, what I mean by this is how are we creating our day and how are we creating our future in a stronger, more powerful way than we did the day before? And even if it's one step. And today, it is of no surprise that what I'm sharing today is the power of disruptions. Now, what do I mean by disruptions? I mean that when we make a plan and it doesn't come together just the way that we wanted it to, how does that affect us? And what is it trying to say to us? And I say it's trying. I don't use trying a lot with my coaching clients because I say we can't just try. We either do or we don't do, and we can continue to go back to the board and get back up. And I think when I say get back up, that's a little more powerful than saying trying. It's a reframing of the word. It's a changing the dynamics of the meaning that I give it. And life has the meaning that I give it, not necessarily the meaning that has been presented or is out there. And my idea of these podcasts is to bring on guests and to have this interaction. So I'm going to ask you to be my guest today because my guest actually became very, very ill, and she thought she was going to be able to participate in this. We're going to reschedule, but she was very, very ill, and she said, "I don't think it would be a good idea for me to try and show up." And so you come to this place where this is a disruption. What is this allowing me to do? Now, I never intended earlier to do a podcast. I just thought it was going to be something, for the people that were schooled and skilled and better rehearsed in front of the camera by themselves. And they're doing these podcasts with guests. And I got out of my comfort zone because that's what I said 2024 was going to be, getting out of my comfort zone. And you know what? It comes with a lot of disruptions. And it's in the disruption that allows us to grow. So I want to welcome you here again today. And I want to share some thoughts as we dive into this, how disruptions can actually be the catalyst to help us live a life beyond limits. And as you know, I call my business 360 Life Without Limits. And I do that for a reason, because I want to help people transform their experiences to experience an abundance of life and to do that without limitations. So let me ask you a question. Think about a major disruption that you've faced. Take just a moment. Okay, so bear with me. I bet it didn't take you very long to come up with an example, did you? I probably had 3 or 4 or 5, or maybe even 10 or 11 that you came up with. Now, why is this? It's because it's a part of uncertainty, and it's a part of life that brings uncertainty to a crossroads. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it is the idea where we have to turn left or we turn right. And if we turn right, or if we turn right, we can't go back and wonder what would have happened if we would have turned left, because then we'll live in a life, a perpetual cycle of regret. And that's not what disruptions are designed for. Disruptions are designed to give you clarity over your strength that you have. And I say that in the way that these moments, if we allow them to, they can bring about the most transformative experiences. I didn't say they'd be all pleasant. Wouldn't it be great if every disruption, every disappointment, or every time that you found yourself with 2 tickets and you're only one person going to the show, but you later discovered that there's a friend that you run into on the way there that has the time, has the opportunity to experience that with you. Now, I don't want this to be full of hyperboles. I don't want to paint this fancy picture that it's all roses and there's no thorns. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying nothing has any meaning except the meaning that we give it. So if you look at disruptions as an opportunity for the possibilities, then the obstacle becomes the factor of resilience building that makes you stronger and helps you live an unlimited life. So, what is it that your disruption leads to just before an intention is played out? Now, I'll give you a quick example. Made arrangements, had plenty of planning time, had the conversations, and occasionally you're going to have disruptions where somebody can't show up. And if you don't have somebody on the back burner, I don't like to put people on the back burner. I don't mind being on the back burner, but I want to I want to focus on the energy of that person. And it's not that I didn't have a plan B. This is my plan B. Actually, it's my plan AA. And this is what disruptions allow you to express and experience. So now, when you thought about that disruption, or one or two or three, let me ask you this. When you think about that, was it overwhelming? And why was it overwhelming? What is the thought that came to your mind? And maybe you were like my son or like myself at one point. I said, this is the worst day of my life. At 6 years old, this is the worst day of my life. And I would always smile because I can see myself, back in that time saying those same things and thinking, back. And now I look back at that and I'm going, man, didn't even have a candle, doesn't even hold a candle to some of the stuff that I went through. And I made it through all of those things. See, the feeling of it being tough and loss, and the experience of loss is tough. The feeling that you've lost something is tough. It's not pleasant. And I'm not going to say that you just pick up your bootstraps and go on. That, I'm just going to say it. That's just a bunch of crap. And I don't listen to that. And the reason that I say that is because you can't always just pick up your boots and strap them on and go forward if you're going to be really honest. So when you allow yourself the opportunity to process and to grow through these obstacles, these disappointments, these distractions, okay, and the disruptions, what if the disruption is actually a wake-up call? What if it is that kick in the pants that says, you're capable of so much more? And I'm going to create a disruption that's going to prove to you your ability, your worth, your value. What if the disruption is our own internal coach that's saying you're more valuable, you're worth more, you know more. There's so much about you that is incredible, and you're tripping over a gold mine to pick up a copper penny because there's so much gold within inside of you. What if it was an opportunity to rediscover your strengths and passions? Can you think of a time when something seemingly negative turned into a positive force in your life? Maybe you were one of the thousands that have recently been let go from a company. Were you really let go to fail? Or were you actually given an opportunity in the making behind the packaging to really express the giftedness and the contribution that you have to life? See, I'm of the belief that you can spend your life making money, or you can spend your money making a life. You can't do both. So, what if you took the most valuable commodity, time, and created the life that you love and take that disruption and the money will come? Now, let that sink just a moment. I have a friend who was one of 2,400 people who was working for a company. They had committed, he had been there for over 10 years. And on a Zoom call, in a 5-minute conversation, they let 2,400 people go. 2,400 people go in a 5-minute conversation. It wrecked a lot of people because they had no other idea. They'd committed so much time and so much energy. Now, fortunately for my friend, he had been preparing. He was studying integrative health practicing medicine and having that not as a backup, not as a side hustle, but that was his passion. And the letting go actually pushed him off of that boat and said, swim. He's capable of it. There's a little voice, a lower voice inside of us that says that the disruption is there for your destruction. But I want to challenge that. And I want you to challenge that as well, because I believe that the disruption is there to set you up at a higher place than you can imagine. Now, it can feel like your world is ending. You got the mortgage due, the kids need clothes, you got to put food on the table, the car payments due, everything is going up except the bank account. There seems to be more withdrawals than there are now deposits. And you're stuck with a now what? Could this be the opportunity to begin that dream list that you always had? That, the one that you said, if only I would have done things differently, if only I would have gone a different path, or only I would have sought to do something different, then I'd really have the life that I love. Well, what are the opportunities that these disruptions, these distractions, these detours, and how can I reframe it? I always ask people when they tell me about a serious problem or a serious issue, I ask them, what could this mean? I remember I was working on a job, and the superintendent that was running the job, he was sharing with me some personal experiences. And I asked him, I said, so what does it mean? And he started to share with me all the downsides of it. And I said, what else could it mean? And he goes, what do you mean? What else could it mean? I go, well, what else could it mean? I mean, if you think about it, we give things meanings that we give them. But the experience is only the meaning that we give it. So what if we changed the meaning? And as he began to process this, and I began to dig this out of him, it was like, what else could it mean? And what else could it mean? And maybe you read into something that wasn't really there. Maybe you perceived something that really wasn't there. Maybe this is the greatest opportunity. Maybe this is the freedom that you'll find something that is even more valuable and creates that energy of passion to be expressed into the world. Now, passion comes with pain. We know that. But it is through that pain, it is through that resilience building, the tearing of the muscles, the stretching that grows muscles. A muscle can't grow unless it's tore. And as you're working out in a weight room, or you're walking, you're actually tearing little segments of your muscles, and it's actually rebuilding, it's restoring and renewing. Now, what if we did that with our mindset? What if we did that with the things that seem to come against us? What could this push you into doing that you could actually wake up in the morning and say, I love doing this. See, I have a belief that every day we have this opportunity. I also know that every single day I'm going to be challenged. And how I perceive a loss that is a disruption, or could it become the gateway that allows me to experience something greater? Now, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. And I just want to check here to see if there's anything going on in the chat. And no. Okay. So, as a soul caster today, I'm looking at both multiple things going on. So think back to that day when you said, this is the worst day of my life experience. As I said, my son used that a lot. And, I just smile because I could picture myself saying the same thing. But think about that time and think about being in the midst of that turmoil. How was it a way that you used that to shift your mindset? When maybe I'll just use my own example. When I quit throwing a temper tantrum about it, that things didn't go the way that I had perceived them, the way that I had thought that they were going to work out. And then it turned out to be something even greater. And I look back and I laugh at those times. And I catch myself even now. And I learn to reframe this thing. And sometimes it takes a minute, a long minute, it's that minute when you were a child and you ask your parents for something and they say in just a minute. And it seemed like eternity went on. And that can be how it feels when we're in this disruption. You see, if we move from the possibilities to the probabilities of the disruption, it really changes. And this is what I want to do today. I want to bring you to not just seeing what's possible, but seeing what's probable. Now, at my youth and my height, the possibility of me playing for the NBA, I suppose it could be possible, but it's not probable. So it's not anything that I seek to find. But what is a possibility that could turn into a probability? What is an organization that you could join because now you have a little extra free time? I know that there was a heartbreak along the way. I know that someone took the most valuable asset that you could give and they took advantage of it. I know that. I know that you gave your life, you committed your world to a place of employment, and they had no qualm of giving you a pink slip without even batting an eyelash. I know that you've had people disrupt you. I know that there have been divorces, and I know there have been losses of children and losses of parents. I know that. But I can tell you this. I lost a child, and it became the platform of the next stage of my life. And I'm not saying that I couldn't have done that without that loss, but I'm saying I didn't allow it to define me. You see, nothing has any meaning except the meaning that I give it. And when I search for that meaning, I allow those disruptions, the things that came against me, and I use them as a force for me to a greater good, a greater cause, and to inspire and also give life to someone else that may be going through the same thing. So moving from possibility to probability, it forces us, sometimes it forces us. It's not always fun. It forces us to take up that passion that we put on the back seat or the back burner, or that I'm going to get to it in my golden years. And I was thinking about this morning. I was on the treadmill actually when I was doing this. And I was thinking, why do we wait for our golden years to put all these things When are golden years? Because if we're waiting for a day way out in the future before we start to live, we're giving our force and our power away. And I want to challenge you, whether you're 6 or whether you're 60 or whether you're 100, today's the day. Today's the day to make the gold shine, because the gold that's within you is no longer needing to be waited for a rainy day. There's been enough rainy days. Now let's dance in the rain. Let's take these disruptions and make the most of them. What is it that maybe it's causing you to take small steps toward the rewarding factors of the dream that's within? You know, I forget who said it, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step and then a second step. Discover that there is more inside of you than you understood, to become the reality that is your best you now, and it's available right now. So one way is to focus on the personal growth, maybe joining a support group, maybe getting a coach. Now, I'm going to put a little plug in here. If you're looking for a great coach, I'm a great coach. And that's not arrogance, that's just confidence. And I share that with you because if we could do it by ourselves, I have coaches. And if we could do it on our own, we'd have already done it. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting to discover as you look at things differently? To take those disruptions and look at them as, man, those were just steps that led me to the next level. What are those steps? What is that disruption? It's a part of way of growing our personal growth. So personal growth and community support, this is where having others around us can be incredibly transformative. I want to explore that just a little bit further. So what's one of the passions? Now, I hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil and you're taking some notes as I'm going through this. And I encourage you to go back and rewatch this, because I know I'm giving you a lot. But what I want to do is I want to give you so much value that you can take one point, one morsel of what I'm sharing. And maybe that's all I'm bringing is one morsel out of all that I'm giving you. But I know that taking those one morsels that I picked up along the path, along the journey, and I digested them and I let them process and I let them nourish me, it led me to the place that I'm at today. And it will continue to lead me and lead others in that path. So doing it on your own, there is no real reward in having a hero syndrome and thinking that even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. So just remember that. Put that in your hat. So what is it that you wanted to do that you never had the time? You know, people say this all the time and they go, gosh, I just wish I had the time. I wish there were 4 more hours in the day. Well, what would you do with 4 more hours in the day? How would you have to eat another meal? So what would you do with 4 more hours in a day? And since you can't have 4 more hours in a day and you never had time before, what is it that you could create that space, that precious space, so that you could express your dreams? What is your disruption doing to create space for your dreams? They walked out on you. Hey, I wish I would have learned this a long time ago. Next. Just say next. They fired you. Just say next. You didn't get the contract. Just say next. You didn't get the opportunity. You didn't get the last whatever it was on sale. There's going to be another sale. Just say next. Build your dreams. Allow the disruption to create the space for your dreams. So, what is one action that you can take towards creating your dreams? Think about that. So, what is it that you want to do that you never had time to do? What is the disruption that could be creating space for you to do the things that you want to do? And what is one small action that you can take towards creating your dreams? This is how you turn disruption into integration, where you integrate what you are writing down. Now, I want to challenge you, don't just listen to this. Listening to this is great, but it's not gonna fulfill the entire outcome. There's an action that you could do. Write one thing down. What you write, you invite. Take your disruption and think about, what are the possibilities? What did this allow me to do? What did that delay on that plane allow me to do? It's amazing. I've had a delay on a plane before, and I'm sitting in the waiting area, and a couple-hour delay, and the person next to me noticed that I was reading a book, and a conversation began, and the entire flight, which was, I think it was about 3.5 hours, the conversation continued. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm not shy about talking, and I don't know strangers. And that is my superpower. That's one of my strengths. I don't know strangers. And so allowing disruptions, allowing these things to come in to our life and go, what else could this mean? What did this allow this opportunity come out of the chaos? Now remember, disruptions are not just obstacles. They're an invitation to reinvent who you are, to rediscover, and to reach beyond our limitations. What are the new opportunities that you could embrace in the face of your current challenges? What are those? Take a minute and write that down. Okay, we don't have a minute. You can go back and watch this. But it begs the question, how can I use this time to learn a new skill or pivot a new career, start a new hobby, embrace a new relationship? How can I use the disruption as a launch pad for growth? Learning a new skill, exploring new paths. Trust me. Let me say this. Trust me in this. I had no intention when I said I'm going to get out of my comfort zone at the beginning of the year and begin a YouTube channel and this podcast to do this on my own. It wasn't in the cards. I've looked at the cards and that card was not there. But what is it doing? It's allowing me to rehearse, and repeat, rinse, and then repeat again. And to get stronger at something that maybe I was afraid of. And I don't know why I was afraid of it. I own where I'm at. But it's uncomfortable. It's a zone that I hadn't been in before. I remember the first time that I got up on stage and I spoke, and I had spent a long time, because I'm not a typer, putting the message that I was giving. And 12 minutes into that message, I'm just scared. I'm got lights on me and I've got hundreds of eyes looking at me. And I'd never learned to public speak. And I just came to the point where I put my pages down and I said, listen, I have one opportunity to share with you a message that can bring true transformation. And I don't want to miss that opportunity. And I want you to come back week after week after week. And after I got done sharing that vulnerable moment of being disrupted, it allowed the distraction to go away. It's like a cloud opened up. And afterwards, somebody came to me and said, Your heart was visible when you shared that last bit of vulnerability. And that gave me the ticket to get up on stage after stage after stage over and over and over again. That was one of the hardest moments in my life. And I worked through that challenge, and it created a platform. It created an identity that was always inside of me. See, I tell people I can't give you anything. All I can do is extrapolate the greatness that's already inside of you. And the reason that you couldn't do it on your own is because you're trying to rise something up in the same energy that you're pushing it down. And having somebody beside you to show you that these disruptions, they always precede intentions. Every time that you go to do something great, there's always going to be a disruption, because it's nature's way of saying, are you really cut out for this? Are you really ready for this? I need you to prove it. See, there's no overnight success. It comes through the experience. So the key is to keep moving even when the path isn't clear, even when the storm is raging. What commitment can you do today to start this journey of transformation? Who, what, or where is waiting for you to show up as your most powerful, unstoppable self? Who is it? Where is it? And what does it look like? My intention today is to give you a fresh breath so that you aspire to not put it off until tomorrow, but to begin today. It could be starting with a conversation. It could be a text message. It could be a word. It could be a smile to someone else. Maybe that someone else is the person looking at you in the mirror. And give them permission to say all those disruptions were setups. They were setups for your next step up. And don't listen to the naysayers. There's a bunch of chickens in the world. You're an eagle. Now, let me say that again. You are an eagle. You were designed and created to soar. You are limitless. That's how you were created, without limitations. Look at a baby. They don't know limitations. They learn limitations. And I'm here to say, whoever taught you limitations, well, just take them off your friend list. Just defriend them, okay? So take these disruptions and these storms that come your way as a way to display your resilience and let it show you what you're made out of. And I didn't say it was easy, but I did say it's worth it. By committing to growth and seeking new opportunities, you're transforming your life and your experience. You're transforming disruption into a powerful force for a positive change. Remember, every disruption is a chance to break free. Free from the limitations, free from the life that you thought you were going to have to put on the back burner. Maybe you need to pull that dream off the shelf, dust it off, and put it out in the front and center. This is the life that you truly desire and truly deserve to live. So asking yourself, what does this disruption mean? And how can I use it for my good? How can this be changed? What does it really mean? What else does it mean? And as you process that and break that down in what does this mean? Does it mean not now? Does it mean maybe in a little while? Maybe you're not ready for it. Maybe it is the possibility for a greater outcome than you can imagine. I'm Stanley Dietrich. I also wanted to share, doing this alone. We can't change what we don't monitor. So as you write these things down, as you write down the disruptions in your life, just take a moment and just write down the disruptions that you've had in your life. And look at each one of those and ask yourself, what did that disruption bring into my life? When I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened, what did it actually open up? I can tell you that, we can take the overused examples. Thomas Edison having 10,000 tries at creating the light bulb. And he said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 9,999 times it didn't work. And I can only imagine that after, 500 of perceived failures, as he's writing these things down. Now, see, what he wrote, he invited. So what you write, you invite. So he wrote these things not to duplicate them. He said, well, you can't use this thick of a wire to bring this current across and hold it. It doesn't work. Or you can't have too thin of one. It doesn't work. And the lining of the glass or whatever, I'm not a scientist, so but I had to imagine that as he wrote these things down, this is where the 80% of the success came from. He wrote the things that didn't work down so that he could go back and go, oh yeah, I remember I tried that and it didn't work. And I tried that and it didn't work. But then when I brought these elements together, now I've got the light bulb. And that gave us a whole different way of looking at life. No longer did we have to go by a lantern or a candle. We could actually have power. We could actually control it. We could determine at the moment's notice how we could turn it on. And then, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So if you have anything that you want to create in your future, predict it. Predict what you want. And start writing those things down. What is it that you'd like to see? What is it you'd like to do? If you can't do this on your own, I'm going to recommend that you get help, either from me or another coach. Get it from somebody that you trust, somebody that you can be real and vulnerable with. What is it that you can do, the power of two, that you can't do on your own? Then I want to put one last request in. If you enjoy these podcasts, I'd like you to remember to subscribe, like, and share. Share this with somebody. If you've got one element of encouragement, of power, somehow you've seen yourself in a different light, share this with somebody else. Maybe there's somebody that this could be that first step for you that sets you up as an authority of inspiration because they trust you. So thank you for joining me here today, and look forward to next Thursday. I'm going to have a guest from Prior. Tammy Cho is going to be with me next Thursday, and I am excited about that and what that energy and understanding our alignment and so much more. You will want to tune in to that. So in the meantime, create the life that you love and live a life without limits. Have a great day. I'll talk to you next week.